Dr. Dempsey, you signed the death certificate for Mr. Taylor?
Yes, I was his doctor.
Heart failure, secondary to AIDS. Could you explain what that means?
He suffered a cardiac arrest due to a number of opportunistic infections.
So it wasn't just one thing?
I was treating him for a number of illnesses. Cerebral lymphoma, MAC. AIDS is a disease of the immune system.
And you specialise in this field?
No, but I do have a number of HIV patients.
Do any of your HIV patients ever talk to you about suicide?
Consultations with my patients are confidential.
You just told me about Mr. Taylor.
I was answering your questions in general.
All right, did Mr. Taylor ever talk to you about suicide?
I'd prefer not to answer that.
But it's likely he considered it, knowing he was going to die.
I'd prefer not to answer that.
Is that what your legal advisor told you to say?
Yes.
Any time your answer might incriminate you?
I'd prefer not to answer that.
I received information that indicates that Mr. Taylor's death was not natural, that he either committed suicide or was murdered. Would you care to comment?
I'd prefer not to answer that.
My information also suggests that you may have actively been involved in his death. Would you care to comment on that?
No.
3 nights ago you visited Mr. Taylor's house, is that correct?
Yes.
You were there when he died?
No, I left around 11 p.m. I estimated his time of death to be around 2 a.m.
And how would you describe his mood when you left?
Peaceful, relaxed. He'd had friends round for dinner.
Oh, so you were his friend as well as his doctor?
Yes.
Is that usual for doctors to treat friends or relatives?
I was his doctor first.
Isn't it so that the doctor doesn't become too emotionally involved?
Generally, but HIV patients often have difficulty finding sympathetic doctors.
And you're sympathetic?
Yes.
So if a patient wanted help to end his life, you'd help him?
I'd prefer not to answer that.
Are you aware that inciting or assisting someone to commit suicide is a crime?
Yes.
Actively participating is murder.
I know.
Withholding information about a crime is also an offence. Do you have any information about Mr. Taylor's death that would indicate it was either suicide or murder?
I'd prefer not to answer that.
Detective Brown, you said you'd call me.
Yeah, as soon as there's any developments.
Haven't you charged him yet?
Look, Miss Taylor, you must know how long these things take.
Look, I've given you a statement. Names, details, what more do you need?
Take it easy. Everything's under control. We'll be in touch.
Call 8 officers, I think. Okay. Special word for elevating Mikey to the status of
What did they say?
They haven't charged me with anything. Not yet, anyway.
You think they will?
I'm still assisting them with their inquiries.
Well, you don't have to, you know.
Well, if I don't, I'll look guilty. You know, I'd prepared myself for this. It was different. I make you feel like a criminal.
You know, I've been thinking maybe it's not such a good idea to talk to me about it. I mean, you know how they twist things. Maybe the less I know, the better, don't you think?
Is this where Dr. Martin Dempsey practices?
Yes, that's right.
I'm Detective Sergeant Brown. This is Detective Sergeant Morelli. We have a search warrant for these premises.
To search for what?
Information relating to an alleged crime.
What, here?
Julie, I'll explain later. Come in.
I called before and Sonia told me what happened. I'm sorry, Martin. It wasn't your fault. That's how Ruth found out. She saw the video. She kept asking who else was involved. I tried to talk to her, but she couldn't cope. Kept saying we're all murderers.
I'll make some coffee.
She said he must have been depressed.
Look, we both know that's not true, don't we? During the police interview, the one thing that got me through was saying to myself, this is what Jeremy wanted.
They'll want to talk to me too. I don't know what to say to them.
Jeremy died in his sleep. You called me in the morning when you found him, and I came over and signed the death certificate.
What about the autopsy?
Autopsy?
Well, Ruth said she demanded proof that he didn't die in his sleep.
There's nothing we can do about it now.
If we'd invited her to the farewell, she would have understood.
It wasn't up to you or me.
That's Martin's drug book. He's going to be needing that.
Where does Dr. Dempsey keep his patient records?
Oh, sorry. You're not going anywhere near them.
I've got a search warrant.
For patients' records?
I'll have to find it myself.
No, you won't.
Sorry about the mess.
Mrs. Vo.
Have you heard what's happened?
Mrs. Vo, just go straight through, please.
What are they after? The police are in Martin's office.
They only just finished questioning him.
Now, you all know what's going on, don't you? But nobody's bothered to tell me. I'm the one who has to deal with the police. Now, where is Martin?
He'll be in soon, Julie. Okay, I've got a patient waiting.
I'd like to speak to Dr. Sharp, please.
He's with a patient. Join the queue.
I need someone to check what I've taken.
How long would Dr. Sharp be?
I'll check.
I got some bits and pieces. Patient records are over there.
William, one of the policemen wants to speak to you. Oh, Mrs. Vander, I'm sorry about the long wait, but it won't be much longer, I promise.
What appears to be the problem?
Dr. Sharp, I'd like to have a word. In private, if we could.
I'm not sure how I can help you.
How would you describe your relationship with Martin Dempsey?
He's a partner in the practice here.
How long have you known him?
About 2 years.
Is he a friend?
Well, we've had a very good working relationship. He lived here until recently.
What, just the two of you?
Yes, we shared the premises. Then circumstances changed. I became engaged to be married, and Martin moved out.
Don't see enough of it these days. People getting engaged.
Quite.
Do you and Dr. Dempsey ever talk about each other's patients?
We consult on occasion.
Did he ever talk to you about Jeremy Taylor?
Not that I recall.
But you knew he treated HIV patients.
To a certain extent.
You're the senior partner, aren't you?
Well, partners don't always get the chance to discuss everything they'd like.
How about euthanasia? Have you ever discussed that?
Not directly, no.
But you both agree with it.
I thought you wanted to talk about Dr. Dempsey.
Did you know that Dr. Dempsey was helping patients commit suicide?
Certainly not.
You're the senior partner, and you've got this close working relationship, but when he's going around helping patients knock themselves off, you don't know anything about it.
No.
It's because you don't want to know, or because you agree and you don't want to get blood on your hands.
Detective, if you were going to pursue this line of inquiry, I think you should do so in the presence of my solicitor.
Don't waste your money, Doctor. Look, on the night Jeremy Taylor died, what time did Martin Dempsey finish work?
That would be the night of Julie's birthday dinner. Martin had a house call. I could check the book.
Who was his patient?
I don't recall.
Look, if a patient wanted to end their life with a drug overdose, how would they get the drugs?
Well, sleeping tablets are available on a doctor's prescription.
Morphine?
Same. It can be obtained from a chemist on prescription, or a GP has a certain supply which has to be accounted for.
That's, what, 515 or 530 milligram ampules a month, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you use that much?
Varies.
But wouldn't it be possible to build up quite a supply?
Usage has to be recorded in a book like that, giving the patient's name and the date. It's the doctor's own record.
Quite a few breakages, too. Would you say that Dr. Dempsey's usage was excessive?
Depends on the patients.
Seems like a lot to me.
Well, HIV patients require a high level of palliative care, including pain relief.
Look, could a doctor save up enough morphine to kill a patient?
It would be very difficult.
Thanks for your time, Doctor.
Sorry about the delay. How many are waiting?
3. Sonia took a few.
Who's up first?
Not until you tell me what's going on.
Mr. Bradley? Later.
I'm just the receptionist, right?
I'm sure you are.
It's about a patient who died. His sister's upset and accusing me of being involved.
That's
Good
only
day,
because you're the doctor.
detective. Can we have a word?
After I've seen Mr. Bradley. Come through.
Martin, sorry, I didn't get a chance to clean up from when the police were here.
Look, sorry about this.
She won't be long. Take a seat.
Is William busy?
Well, he's writing some prescriptions, but I can buzz him for you.
Dr. Sharp, this strange woman out here wants to take you to lunch later. Claims to be a close and intimate friend. The old ghost's not still in a bad mood, is he?
I won't be able to, I'm afraid. Not today.
You sure you're all right? You didn't sound very happy last night.
Something's come up. It's work-related.
Well, all the more reason to come to lunch. Get it off your chest.
Oh, Martin, I'll see you now. Thank you, Julie. Call you later.
Did it never occur to you this might happen?
It never has, because the partners and the families have always been grateful.
And this time they aren't.
If people choose to react hysterically, I can't control that.
Martin, you've broken the law.
I have helped a terminally ill patient die with dignity. Euthanasia should be a medical issue, not a criminal one.
It's an issue which needs to be debated at length. It's not for you to make a unilateral decision.
Look, I've got patients walking through my door begging me for help. Do I refer them to an ethics committee? Tell them to do a backyard job while society discusses it? If someone's lucky enough to be on life support, we can turn it off, let them die a dignified death, and society doesn't mind.
There is an ethical difference between removing life support from a brain-dead patient and actively assisting at a suicide.
Yeah, but is there a moral one? Both actions hasten an inevitable death.
No, one allows a natural process to occur and the other interferes with it.
Natural? How much of what we do is natural?
Martin, you're emotionally involved. You're letting it cloud your judgment.
Look, the first time I was asked to help, I refused. Later, I found out that the patient had done it himself with a razor blade while his partner was out shopping. He died alone in a pool of blood instead of surrounded by the people he loved. That made my judgment very clear.
Well, I cannot condone it in this practice.
You don't have to condone it.
Oh, no. And when a detective questions me about your drug record, your overuse of morphine, what am I supposed to tell him?
I use what my patients require.
I see. Well, in future, I intend to supervise your records a great deal more closely, and I want your assurance that your use of morphine will be for symptom relief only.
I can't give that.
Martin, I am trying to protect the good name of this practice.
It's an unreasonable request.
Then suggest an alternative.
I treat my patients as I see fit, not how you would treat them.
As senior partner, I have a real problem with that.
Then as senior partner, you should deal with it, not me.
You are the problem!
My conscience is clear.
Then I'm afraid you'll have to take it with you and find rooms elsewhere.
If that's the only way.
How much time would you need?
2, 3 weeks, so I can notify my patients.
Fine.
Oh, I didn't know how your drawers were arranged, so I just piled everything back into them.
Thanks.
You look a bit pasty. You all right?
I'm just running late. I should be at the hospital.
Martin, this patient who died, is that why the police were here?
Yes.
What were they looking for?
Oh, guns, heavy blunt instruments, anything to prove I'm a murderer.
William's supporting you, though, isn't he?
William has ethical problems with levels of euthanasia.
Well, this is Jeremy Taylor, isn't it? I mean, he was only in his 30s.
With AIDS.
Yes, but taking your own life.
I felt the same way until I watched more and more patients die ugly, out-of-control deaths.
But that depends on your religious beliefs, whether or not you're out of control.
Which God could be so cruel, Julie?
Martin, I know it's difficult to understand sometimes, but...
Oh, don't give me that old mysterious ways line.
Well, how do you decide? Where do you draw the line?
I ask the patient.
Lunch sounds good. Tomorrow. I'm all right. We've got so much to do. See you then.
Alex, it's Reggie here. I heard about Jeremy, and I've been thinking of you both all day. Hold in there and give me a call when you can.
Detective Sergeant Morelli here. I dropped in this morning, but there was no one home. If Alex could give me a call on 950-3579, I'd appreciate it.
I came round to collect some of Jeremy's things.
I haven't had a chance to sort everything out yet.
I don't mind doing it.
Ruth, Jeremy told me where he wanted things to go.
Is now a good time?
No.
As executor of Jeremy's estate, I have authority over his belongings.
He changed his will.
When? I wasn't notified.
A few months ago.
If it's unofficial, it's worthless.
We did it through a different solicitor, McNabb's in Berkeley Street.
Well, why didn't he tell me?
Ruth, I don't want things to be like this. I don't think Jeremy would either.
You think you can shut me out? I'm his sister, all that's left of his family.
I was his lover.
Your CD4 cell count's holding at about 150. Now, that could be because of the AZT. Headaches and nausea are common side effects. Have you been vomiting much? Well, it may help to change over to DDC.
I feel so tired all the time.
I know, but without some form of antiviral, your cell count could drop more rapidly, which would obviously increase your susceptibility to infection. Look, I have had some cases where cell counts have stabilised for years with proper therapy.
Dr. Dempsey, when you finish that?
We'll stop the AZT. I'll prescribe some analgesics, and I'll call back tomorrow, okay? How long's Philip been like this?
Since he started deteriorating. He used to be the ward comedian.
Is there much family support?
His partner visits every day, but the family isn't dealing with it very well.
You wanted to speak to me.
I was called up to the superintendent's office this morning. He wants to talk to you.
Sounds ominous.
I just wanted you to know that I had nothing to do with it and that I don't agree.
With what?
They're withdrawing your visiting rights. Some police were here this morning asking about Jeremy Taylor. I told him how popular you were, how much the patients depend on you, but he said there's some legal reason, insurance or something, that he didn't have any choice.
Who's going to take over my patients?
He did say it was only until the police investigation was over.
Keep an eye on Philip, will you? If his depression gets much worse, make sure he gets some help.
Sure.
Got anything you want done?
No, I put some through this morning, thanks.
Yeah. Everything takes so long to dry this time of the year.
Yeah.
William, did Martin provide the drugs that Jeremy Taylor used to commit suicide?
I believe so.
He wasn't there, was he?
You should ask Martin.
He was. How could he stand there and watch someone kill themselves?
Would you prefer bolognese or carbonara with your spaghetti?
I think I've lost my appetite.
Well, think about something else.
William, Jeremy Taylor wasn't even that sick.
Julie.
It's a mortal sin.
And against the law and against a doctor's duty to preserve human life, which is why Martin will be leaving Ross Street in 2 weeks' time. Now, bolognese or carbonara?
Carbonara.
At first he started going on about legal grounds, then he started talking about corporate image, about how they can't afford to jeopardise hospital funding.
But jeopardising the well-being of patients.
They've sent the wrong bloody pizzas. Is it so hard to get a pizza order right?
Hey, let me call them.
Oh, no, I'm starving. I can't wait. That's how this virus became an epidemic in the first place, because the bureaucrats wouldn't move fast enough. I'm the last resort for patients looking for a doctor who'll discuss all their options, including euthanasia.
Yeah, which isn't fair on you.
There are so many indefinites. The virus can't survive more than 3 minutes in isolation. Whoops. Yes, it can. Oral sex is safe. Oh, hang on. Maybe it's not. We don't know for sure. There's nothing we know for sure.
Pizzas look good.
Well, they're not. They're terrible.
Look, why don't you just cut back? For a while.
What, and leave it to someone else? Well, that'd keep William happy. At least he wouldn't have to supervise my drug requisitions or keep an eye on me.
He asked to supervise you.
Yeah. I told him to stick it, so if you know of any good rooms going.
Why didn't you tell me this?
I was getting round to it.
When did you realise Mr. Taylor was dead?
In the morning when I woke up. I called the doctor. He came round and wrote out the death certificate.
And did you have any idea from his appearance how long he'd been dead?
His face was blue and his skin was all cold.
I'm trying to clarify the time of death.
Does it really matter?
Was he feeling ill the night before?
He's been ill ever since he's seroconverted.
But no worse than usual?
No.
What time did he go to bed?
Around 11?
Yeah, what time did Dr. Dempsey leave?
I don't remember.
9, 10, 11?
Around 10:30, 11.
Where was Jeremy then?
In bed. Why do you keep asking questions about Martin?
Because certain accusations have been made.
Well, he hasn't done anything wrong, right? So leave him alone.
I have to ask these questions.
No, you don't. You're only asking them because Ruth can't accept it that Jeremy didn't want her there.
What, at the party? Why not?
Because she would...
Wouldn't understand? But Dr. Dempsey did.
Martin understood what Jeremy was going through.
Yeah, he knew he was going through a lot of pain. Knew he was going to die sooner or later and wanted it to be sooner. That's what the party was for, wasn't it? To say goodbye to Jeremy.
No. No, that's not right. It was to celebrate his life. I told them what we agreed on, even though they kept asking about the party and who left when.
Well, at least they might leave you alone now. How have you been feeling apart from that?
Last night was pretty bad, being there alone.
It'll take a while.
I couldn't sleep. So I started going through Jeremy's clothes. I couldn't throw them away, so I put them on the sofa and slept on them. I know it's selfish, but we could have spent months together. Had more good times before he got worse.
We did what Jeremy wanted. That was what you wanted too.
I didn't know it would be this hard.
Remember the dinner party? Remember how happy he was, surrounded by his friends? How
peaceful he looked lying on the bed. He died next to the person he loved, not in some hospital somewhere.
I know. Just being selfish.
You mightn't have wanted him to go so soon, but it was what he wanted. You respected his choice. That's not selfishness. That's courage.
Did you know I tested positive 3 months before Jeremy? We never knew who infected who.
Does it matter?
He was strong. He was healthy. He got sick. And I'm still all right.
It can happen that way.
It's so unfair.
Did he treat patients at the house?
Martin does his own thing. I do mine.
Scary when you think you know someone, isn't it? And then you realise you didn't.
No sign of Mr. Walker yet?
No, he rang to say he was going to be late. Look, did Martin talk to you about what he was doing?
It's not exactly the sort of conversation you have over breakfast, Julie.
Yeah, especially when it concerns killing people.
You don't know that.
Providing drugs is the same thing.
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Do you agree with what he's done?
I don't know. It's just not that black and white.
Hi, Sonia.
Alex, hi.
Thanks for the card. It meant a lot.
Call me if you need to.
There's something I should explain about what I said.
I got your drift.
Can I want to?
Maybe 2 weeks is too long. I should write to my patients and explain.
Well, you haven't lined up new rooms.
How can I work properly in this atmosphere?
Oh, Julie's just Julie.
And so's William. And so are you. You all disagree with what I've been doing.
Martin, don't.
And what's the alternative?
Well, look, you could set up rooms for HIV patients only and reduce your caseload here.
And isolate my patients even more.
You'd still get to treat most of them and you could get visiting rights back at the hospital.
Yeah, and turn away others because my supervisor can't deal with his ethical problem.
Most of your patients would be better off.
Look, one of the reasons I came into general practice was I couldn't stand the taxi rank mentality at St John's. Patients should be in charge of their illnesses, not doctors. It's not up to William or some superintendent to decide.
But if you leave, you're letting him win.
And if I don't, he wins anyway. At least if they acquit me, it'll set a precedent.
And if they don't, you might go to jail.
Yeah. The law stinks, doesn't it? Alex should be grieving for Jeremy, not worrying about whether the police are going to arrest him.
You're getting caught up in the righteous battle. If you're deregistered, the world loses a great doctor. For what?
Well, if enough people admit what's happening, the law might change. It did for abortion.
And you'll be a martyr for the cause.
It wasn't my choice for things to happen this way. But I won't run away.
And what'll you tell your patients who'll miss out?
We don't get many people from Queensland. They're usually always going the other way. So would you like to see Dr. Sharp or Dr. K-Pick? And I'll get you to fill this in for me if you wouldn't mind.
I'll go. Martin? What are you doing?
Just letting off a bit of steam.
I didn't mean to upset you.
Then you don't know me as well as I thought you did.
I know how important this is to you.
Then don't sit on the fence. At least William's upfront about the way he feels. Do you think I'm a murderer?
No. I mean, I don't know if I could do what you've done, but then I've never been in that position.
Do you think the law should be changed?
It worries me giving that sort of power to doctors.
What about patients of sound mind who choose to die?
If they had a better quality of life, they mightn't want to.
Some of them, and they're the ones I'd refuse. What about the others?
Well, they should have a choice to go to a doctor other than me who could help them.
So you support changing the law?
Yes.
Well, thanks for telling me.
Come in. Thank you.
Hi, sis. Bet you didn't expect to see me so soon. I'm making this tape so you can remember me like this instead of when this poxy disease starts getting worse. Check out the biceps, eh? Nothing wrong with them. If you do get to see this, it'll be after I've departed this mortal coil. There's a few things I wanted to say. I'm not sure if I'll get around to them. It's been great catching up again. I had written off the family after I left Perth, but they're always there no matter where you go. You reminded me of the good times we used to have as kids. Speaking of good times, I guess mine are numbered. I've just come out of hospital after a week of throwing up, being jabbed in every place possible. While I was in there, I started thinking about the future, or what's left of it. And I've got this really good doctor, one who explains everything, and he's a real spunk as well. What really scares me is losing my marbles. I'm already getting names mixed up, Rebecca. Ruth. I don't want to end up a veggie, waiting for some new infection to finish me off. Do you think I'm gutless for making this tape instead of talking to you? Well, I've noticed there's still some things we don't talk about. Like Alex's and my relationship, and how sick I'm getting. There's parts of my life you don't seem comfortable with, so I avoid talking about them. And you never ask. Now, maybe I'll never send this tape and we'll get to it. But just in case, please don't be offended.
What are you doing in there?
Having a good time?
Can I join in?
On the phone.
How boring.
Alex doesn't know I'm doing this. After I'm gone, you'll have to look after him. We talked the other night about dying and self-delivery, but he couldn't handle it. Kept saying it was up to me. I could tell he was upset. It's tempting just to end it. Say goodbye now, like this. Rather than, later when I'm sick. I'm not sure I could go through with it. I'd probably chicken out. Maybe they'll find a miracle cure for AIDS in the next 12 months. And we'll sit here and watch this, laughing our heads off.
Did he ever talk about me?
We weren't really that close.
Really? Jeremy and I were inseparable as kids.
Ruth, why have you come here?
I'm here to say I'm sorry. One thing I realised about my brother is he's very single-minded. If he'd made the decision to die before he got too sick, he'd go through with it no matter what anyone said. It would have been his decision and no one else's.
His and Alex's?
Yeah. I think I resented that. We never regained the same closeness. I presume that's why I wasn't invited to the dinner. He invited you. He was closer to his doctor than his own sister.
I wasn't just his doctor. I was his friend.
One of his family, he said. You see, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. I don't know how I'll forgive him for that. I'm withdrawing the statement to the police. I'll deny it if it goes to court. It won't stop the autopsy or the investigation, but it might make a difference.
I'll do those if you buy me a beer on the way home.
Some other time.
Or we could talk about the weather, state of origin.
Oh, I've got a couple of house calls.
Well, after that. Prawn gumbo at the Cajun kitchen. Hey, we have disagreed about things before, you know. Capital punishment, the Labor Party, whether masturbation's infectious.
I'll see you at home.
Marty, don't lose your sense of humour, please.
I don't know how you can pretend this hasn't happened.
Good evening. I won't take up much of your time, Dr. Dempsey. I received a copy of the coroner's autopsy on Jeremy Taylor today. He mentions age-related infections, like you've said, then talks about the level of morphine in the bloodstream. It was high enough to be fatal under ordinary circumstances, but not unusual for someone on high levels of morphine for pain relief, as Mr. Taylor was.
Right.
Which means it doesn't prove anything. The other guests confirmed your version of the night's events, the time you left, and I had a phone call from Miss Taylor today saying she wanted to change her statement. I haven't got around to her yet, but I got the gist of it.
She spoke to me too.
I'm closing the investigation because of lack of evidence. I'll still pass it on to the prosecutor's office, but I don't expect you'll hear from them.
So that's it? Case closed?
Unless further evidence comes to light. I brought back the items we took from the surgery. Got a sign for him. I couldn't help but notice how many breakages you had at the morphine ampules.
Accidents happen.
I'll make sure you never operate on me.
There we go.
Thanks. I'll see myself out.
Sounds to me as though Martin has a pretty good argument.
Yes, he has. That's not the point. I understand what he's done. Of course I do. Understand very well. But it's the way he's gone about it.
Jeopardizing the practice.
Not just that. But you can't do something like this on your own. It affects other people.
So the worst thing he did was to get caught.
Doing it behind my back. He's let me down, let the patients down. I've never had to sack a partner before. I know it sounds stuffy and old-fashioned, but people have certain responsibilities.
You've done the right thing.
You don't believe that?
I do.
If I could have your attention for a minute, please. Believe it or not, Jeremy and I discussed this service a long time ago. He didn't want it to be miserable. He wanted us to remember the life he'd lived rather than his death. And to celebrate some of his favourite memories. So take it away, guys.
1, 2, 3.
If your dog is feeling glum, or your parrot's lost his tongue, don't despair. Call vets who care. When the mog is in a tiz, or your rabbit's lost his fizz, don't despair. Call vets who care. We're on the road all day and night. We'll fix your pets until they're right. Don't despair. We're vets who care.
That paid for our first holiday to Bali. There was another one about a year ago when Jeremy talked about writing an autobiography about growing up gay in Australia. But you know, Jeremy, he only wrote the first few pages. Childhood was a blur for me. A blur of intense, confusing experiences interspersed by long periods of calm. Relaxed, sunburnt seaside calm. There was one person always by my side. My guardian angel, my fellow conspirator, my best friend, and Sister Ruth. Do you want to say something?
Jeremy wanted this to be a happy occasion. But I don't feel very happy right now. There's still so many things we had to talk about. I'll miss his laugh. I'll miss his friendship. I'll miss him.
It's my choice. I want to support you.
Look, argue with William all you like, but save your big guns for something that really matters to you.
This does. It's just taken me a while to realise it, that's all.
Resigning won't achieve anything except put you out of a job. I've already got a few prospects.
Like what?
Like opening a clinic in Launceston. I'd be in charge. No Williams looking over my shoulder.
Tasmania?
Yeah. Social life might not be all that crash hot, but I wouldn't mind that at the moment.
I thought you said you were worried about dealing only with HIV patients, that you'd lose perspective.
I have already, remember? Along with my sense of humour.
Tasmania, you haven't lost your sense of humour.
I can't offer you a job, so you better start sucking up to William.
You take care of yourself, won't you?
Yeah.
Right now, I've asked the accountant to calculate the figures up until the end of next week and then work out a figure based on your percentage of the partnership.
Sounds fun.
And I'll send you those figures with the settlement check.
If it's easy, don't go to any trouble.
No. I'd rather have all the details out in the open. Now then, this is the release agreement detailing the change in the partnership arrangement, and this one is an approval of the terms of settlement.
It's as bad as selling a house.
So, I'm very pleased that there'll be no repercussions for you, Martin, but you do understand that sometimes one has no alternative but to act for everyone's best interest.
Especially the patients.
Especially.
Oh, I need a few hours off.
Yes, take as long as you like. I'm sure we can manage without you.
I'm going out for a few hours, Julie. Many down for this afternoon?
No, not really.
Good. Might have time for a long lunch.
Look, I can't. I've got something on.
I meant me.
Oh, right.
Maybe we could some other time.
Yeah, sure.
Did you know that this is illegal too? It's against some council health regulation.
I think I'll take the risk.
Oh, no. I'm not family.
Goodbye, Jeremy.
Bye, Jeremy.